I am by no means someone who is a fast reader. I'm actually a very slow reader. I'm not a very consistent reader. And I've never been able to finish books front to back consistently on a, let's say, month to month basis. It's just something that I have never made a priority. But for 2024, I wanted to make reading more of a priority in my life. And I wanted to make it easier for me to accomplish finishing a book from front to back in the span of, say, 2 weeks. That was kind of my goal. I see a lot of people try for 1 week or 1 month, whatever suits you best and whatever speed you read at. I recommend going for the time frame that kind of fits within that. But for me, a 2 week period was something that I wanted to see if I could accomplish. And so far, I am 2 books in, and we haven't gotten to the end of January quite yet. So my 2 week time frame per book is working so far. And in order to achieve that, I've put in a few techniques that I've learned and just kind of strategies, I guess, for reading that have actually helped compared to other things that I've tried in the past. So in this video, I want to talk about what those things are. So to start the year off, I managed to read Deep Work, which, let's see if I can get it in focus here. The book is by Cal Newport, and it is a sensational book. It's very, very popular in the online business and just online, not just online, because it really talks about not going online so much, but it's popular in, I guess, the entrepreneurial space the most, I think, is where I've seen it pop up a lot, just because of its focus on making you focus and getting deep, meaningful work done. And this book, I'm not going to go into detail what the book is about. You can look it up on your own time. But the reason why this is a good example and why I made it my first book is because it's pretty long. It's about 263 pages long. And for someone like me who doesn't read a whole lot, that does look a little bit intimidating. I'm not going to lie. So when I first, see if you can get that in focus. When I first decided I was going to read this, I was a little bit hesitant because I honestly bought this a while ago and I just haven't read the whole thing. I've read bits and pieces, but I wanted to read it from start to finish in a 2 week time frame. So the way that I did that was, one, by starting out with this method that I learned through TikTok. I forget what the guy's name is, but if I do find it, I will put it on screen here. And it's basically where you take the amount of pages and the time that you're going to read the book by, and you divide it into that time frame. So for me, I'm reading this book. I wanted to read it in 2 weeks. I split 263 by 2, so that came to around 131. And then I went and I counted how many pages per day in that 2 week time frame I'm going to need to read in order to get to 263. And that averaged out to be around, let me just look here, it was exactly like 18 and a half. So let's just go with 19 pages per day over a 2 week time frame to finish the book. And when I look at it that way, it makes it seem a little bit less intimidating, I guess. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is a sticky note that I made that says amount of pages I need to read today, which is around 19, and then the date, which is January 8th. That's the day that I need to read this first chunk of pages in the book by in order to stay on track. So I put a sticky note there just to remind myself each day how many pages I need to be reading in order to get to that amount by the deadline, which is, on this case, January 8th. And then I put a second sticky note. Since we're doing 2 weeks, I split it into 2 weeks. I put a second sticky note on page 263, so the very end. Page 263, January 15th was the deadline to finish the book. And what do you know? I actually managed to finish this book. So using that sticky note method, I managed to actually complete the book. It made it very easy to kind of break it down into digestible chunks like I did, so 19 pages per day. Usually took about 30 minutes to 45 minutes per day of reading, and I managed to stick to it because I kind of made a goal for myself. And I actually finished that book ahead of schedule because it was just a really good book, and one day I managed to read a few extra pages. But that was one method I implemented, and that seriously helped quite a bit, and I would definitely highly recommend you do that as well. And then the second thing that helped me kind of digest the book better, because I find myself, I don't know if this is similar with you, but I'll be reading and then I'll get into another thought and I'll be reading, but I'm not really remembering what I'm reading. So the second thing that I did in order to make this the most effective reading possible and get the most out of the book was actually write notes not only on the page that I was reading, because honestly, I know a lot of people don't like writing in books, but I feel like the book is just something that you need to be writing in and actually taking down notes as you're reading it, especially with an informational book like this one. So what I managed to do is I just took the book, and whenever I saw something that I liked, and say it was a quote or something that was very informative and it was just very interesting and it was worth noting down. So on page 119, you can see I took my highlighter. It's going to be kind of bright, but I don't know if you guys can see this. I took my highlighter. It says, great. Let's just read this here. Great creative minds think like artists, but work like accountants. Now, I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but that was just a quote that I liked reading. So I managed to highlight it. And then what I did is I looked at the page number, 119, and this is very messy, but I will show it. I wrote all of my notes from each page. You can see I write the page number, and then I write a little kind of like, I guess, tiny note, footnote, whatever you want to call it, that references what I liked on that page. So there's one right here. You can see page 119. I wrote good quote. So that way I can refer back to this book, flip open to the front cover. This is just on the front cover I took these notes, and go straight to page 119, get the quote, and then I'm good to go. Then I'm not like fishing through it. And I know some people like to leave sticky notes on different pages. I didn't really want to make a huge mess of this book with like 100 different sticky notes. So I mean, maybe this is a mess of the book in your eyes. I'm not sure what you consider to be a mess of the book. But for me, I like having just like a sentence note just to kind of refer to it, and then I can flip directly to the page. So those two tactics, number one being figuring out how long I want to take to read the book, breaking it down to a page per day basis, and then putting sticky notes on the pages that I need to meet by that certain deadline in the book. And then number two, taking a highlighter and a pen and just highlighting certain things that I like, flipping to the front page while I'm reading, writing down a quick note with that page number, and then continuing on. Those two things, honestly, they've improved my reading by so much. And I think that's due in part to them just being very simple tactics, but at the same time, very effective tactics, because you can make this as complicated as you possibly want to in order to finish reading your book. Like you can go like, some people will go like, they'll do audiobook one day, they'll read the pages the next day, they'll read the audiobook, the pages at the same time, they'll do it while they're cooking, all these kinds of things. Honestly, for me, it's just like, before I go to bed, I want to read this many pages, break it down into a couple of weeks, how many pages per day, and then take notes while I'm doing it so that I take all the information in and make sure that my reading experience is to the max while also being able to finish books consistently without it being too overwhelming. So those two tactics have helped me read 2 books so far into 2024, which is pretty good for me. I'm on to the 3rd book. I started it last night, and I'm going to continue using these tactics into the entire year and see how consistent I can be. So that was pretty much all I wanted to share with this video, guys. If that is a tactic that you want to give a try, make sure you drop a like on the video, let me know. Also, curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section to see what you guys think of this tactic. If you have any other tactics, more than happy to give them a try. But if you're someone who's looking to read more books in 2024, I highly recommend this method. It'll definitely help you read more books. It's already helped me read more books in a month span than I did maybe in half the year last year. So I'm going to keep doing this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.